you want me to do something like this, too?
Yeah. Okay. This should work out just fine. Let's go just like that. It's actually nice out. I think we're going to be fine. Should be good. We can actually go like this. Yeah. Let me just share that. And there's that. All right, folks, good afternoon. We'll update you with the latest now. Having a minor problem. I think we're fine. Let me just double check. I think we're good everywhere. Again, sun is coming out. Excuse me. You just never know technically. And it's not just me. Sound should be fine. Here we go. See the front of the courthouse. Do a little bit of a better shot, I think. If we go like this. See, if we go like that, you can really see the front of the courthouse, but we like to be hidden in the alcove just a little bit. So I think this is going to be just fine. Let me just check the audio seems fine. Okay, and we're going to be starting momentarily, just like that, as everybody files in. Okay, now let me just double check and see, because we're going to have our guest. And, oh, good. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. It's not allowing me to. It's so odd. All right, folks, we are 1 minute out. 1 minute out. A little low. Okay, Rogers is all set for 106. And we're going to begin. And folks, at 106 on what is turning into a sunny Thursday. Good afternoon, one and all. Let me just make sure we are live. I want to thank, who sent those? Let me just double check. Thank you, Kitty Mac. Kitty Mac starts off the lunch hour with some stars. Folks, again, it is right now 106, and we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Now, we're also live on our website, which is dpetro.com. Oh, wait, there's more. as we speak right now, we are live outside of the Dedham Courthouse, Karen Reed retrial, and I'm going to bring you up to speed on everything like that. But then we're also going to do our legal segment with attorney Stephanie Murphy. So we'll bring you the latest with both talking to Stephanie. All right, let me double check. We're having, I'm having a minor problem right now, folks. Bear with me. And it's so strange that I'm just trying to connect with our guest, and I don't know why it is. Hold on, I know that I'm aware that I'm live, so I want to. We're going to try something different, folks. Again, just because I want to bring our guest on, and for whatever reason, it's giving me a little bit of a tough time in trying to send the link over. So it's so strange, and it's one of those things that's never happened before. So I know we're live, and then it's just one of those things that suddenly has come about and happened. Let me try something different, everyone. And again, I recognize right now that that we are live, and I want to tell you the latest with the Karen Reed situation, but I'm not alone. That sometimes we can run into technical problems, as I've been experienced, and sometimes that's not it. Okay. So this is so odd that the method that I use, and again, stay with me, everybody. No time for panic. At 109, I want to try this, and I don't know. Nope, that's the YouTube thing. That's not what I'm looking for. All right, everybody, bear with me again, because I do want to walk you through. And for some reason, there's a method in which that I use that I communicate and then send a link to our guests, and it is not happening and working for whatever reason. It is the link that I normally use right till 2 o'clock, which is good. We might have to do this tomorrow. I'm going to try it one more time, but then I have to obviously begin. And like I've said, folks, in the past, for those that are listening, you get, I know, stand by. I ran into problems with trying to do a national broadcast just the other night, and I'm doing everything I normally do, and then instead, it's just not connecting in that manner, and for whatever reason, because then I'm just going to have to move on. Nothing comes up when I copy. Nothing comes up when I copy. And we used it Sunday night. We used it with Justin Katz on Monday. And now all of a sudden, there is a glitch. I don't know. Me too, and I apologize. We were just about to have attorney Stephanie Murphy on, and then suddenly we have run into this, and I don't know exactly why. Sorry about that, Stephanie. We'll have her something extra. All right, folks, we will try to stay on schedule. Boy, that is tough. But listen, and I want to stress this. This happened to me the other night. I was going to do, I was going to do a national show, and they had problems bringing me on video-wise, and I'm saying, how is this possible? I'm able to bring guests on with my, live broadcast from 1 to 2, and then here we are having problems. So I'm going to figure that out. And I also just realized that this is something I've never had a problem getting a link to a guest, and then now suddenly we're having a problem getting a link to a guest. I want to try, folks, before we totally abandon ship, I want to just totally just check one more thing, and I appreciate everyone because it was a very significant day in the. Let me just try this. It was a very significant day in the Karen Reed. Let me just see if this link works. Nope, I don't know. Oh, okay, it's possible. Let me see. Try this.
John, why
All
do you
right,
lie
hold on.
every day?
I'm live right now.
Why do you lie every day?
Oh,
you go
now
in there
listen,
and you lie. We read your tweets. You're misrepresenting what's happening.
Now listen,
No, you're lying. You're lying, John. How much are they paying you to lie?
Now hold on. Listen, Turtle. All right. Do I have to get? You're not supposed to be doing this. This is supposed to be a buffer zone. You're not supposed to be doing this.
Doing what?
And on top of it, you're interrupting.
You don't like when people ask questions?
Right now.
You ask Karen Reed questions.
I'm live read right now.
Well, so you're allowed to ask questions, but I'm not?
Yeah, but she's not broadcasting and I am. So.
No, I'm broadcasting.
Trooper! Officer! You come here just for
I can't talk to you?
No, not when I'm broadcasting.
Okay.
You're not supposed
Wait,
to do
why
that when
can't
I'm
I do that? Why can't I do
If you
that?
check, there is a provision where you're not supposed to interrupt someone in the middle of a broadcast.
Who said that?
As a matter of fact,
Who said
you know
that?
it's an FCC policy.
An FCC
So
policy.
actually, you're violating FCC policy. Officer, could you just ask this individual to move along instead of interrupting? So you can check that. It's actually a policy that you're not supposed to interrupt a broadcast. So, all right, you can keep filming me like that. So, with your glasses. So, why don't you go tell them that you want them and their families to burn to death in their homes? Okay, that is certainly the words of a domestic terrorist.
I don't want that.
Yes, you do want that.
No, not at all.
So, now listen, I've asked you 4 times, and you can look it up. You're not supposed to interrupt the broadcast. You go over there and do that. I'm live right now, right? And he is coming over and interrupting broadcast. And I'm actually on the radio, and there's a policy that you're not supposed to interrupt someone doing a broadcast like this. So could you ask him to move along?
What is your point? Does that mean?
Well, I was just trying to ask him a question.
No, he's interrupting. You can wait till I'm done at 2 o'clock. You can wait till I'm done at 2 o'clock.
Am I not allowed to ask him a question?
No.
I'm not trying to start it.
Yes, you are trying to start something. I see Stonewall.
I'm not going to
If you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you at 2 o'clock.
You don't want to make a big deal.
I definitely don't want to make it a big deal.
You are trying to make a big deal.
Well, okay, John.
Let's let him.
Yeah.
Why don't you
okay.
just let me do my thing?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I'll get going. But I mean, what the heck, John?
Yeah.
Just ask you a question.
Why don't you go ask when someone's doing a live broadcast? You
Because
can interrupt.
he asked Karen Reed the other day when we went to court. He asked her
Oh, yeah. Why
about
don't you
OJ.
just move
Remember
along?
you asked her about OJ?
Yeah,
You go with
absolutely, I
OJ
did.
frame?
Yes.
So he can ask questions to Karen Reed.
She wasn't
I can't ask questions to
broadcasting.
him?
She wasn't broadcasting. What part of that? I know that all your fans are on there.
Well, what law says that I can't
It
ask
is
questions?
a violation.
I can't ask
It is. That's what this is for. So, I don't want to talk to him. He's a domestic terrorist. All right, folks. Now, this is definitely a different type of broadcast. Do you want to talk to me at 2 o'clock? All right, we'll just do our thing. All right, now, folks, that is purposely came over. He's totally interrupting. And by the way, I will look into it. There is an FCC policy, because we're on the radio and also broadcasting, that you're not supposed to interrupt a broadcast. And I'll follow up on it. So we know who that is, and it's a Reed supporter, and they're upset that I'm in the courtroom. But, and despite all these odds, we're just going to continue. But this, just so you understand, this is supposed to be the zone where media can broadcast. So, and right now, since we're on the radio, this is actually no different that if you were to do this on someone on whether it's Channel 10 or Channel 12 or, one of the local Boston stations. This portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Guard Center. Now listen, this Sunday is Mother's Day. Stop in, see everything. Annuals, perennials, trees, shrubs, hanging pots, 10-inch, 12-inch moss baskets, hanging impatiens, pansy, marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs, tropical mandevillas, hibiscus plants. Stop in and see them. They're open 7 days a week. Folks, it's PR Landscape Materials in Garden Center. Listen, I was in the courtroom, and I recognize that they don't like it that the prosecution is having a big day, and they're putting forth a lot of strong evidence. And as a result of that, people like that are going to try to interrupt a broadcast and try to hijack it and sabotage it because they don't like that I'm in the courtroom and laying out exactly what's happening. I also want to remind you about dpetro.com. Folks, log on. Brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, and they are taking reservations for Mother's Day this weekend at the Coesit Inn. All right, let me also stay on track. Propane Plus. We're going to talk to attorney Tim Dodd this afternoon. It is actually an FCC violation against the law for someone to interrupt a live broadcast. So there could be legal consequences here, and that's what we're going to follow up on. So I'm going to have attorney Dodd on that this afternoon, and that you could see, I explained, all you have to do is say, hey, I'm broadcasting. And we are right now on AM 1380, 99.9 FM, also online at our website, dpetro.com, and then you can also look for us. We're live right now on Facebook and X and TikTok. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. Always online at propaneplus.com. Hey, listen, he is out right now on bail, and we're going to find out. I'm pretty certain that it is against the law to interrupt a broadcast while it's in session, but I'll let attorney Dodd, we'll look into that this afternoon. But it sounds like something I'm going to be having to do after court. But folks, just so we're clear, so what's going on inside the courtroom, this has been, on this Thursday, a really successful day for the prosecution, because, hear me out, the story that the Commonwealth is putting forward, and Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, the story that he is presenting for the jury and laying it out in that way, it's really easy to understand. And when you're talking about that they recovered pieces of the taillight, Karen Reed's taillight, right there. Look what they're pulling out of the snow. Look what is frozen underneath the snow. It was very dramatic when they had John O'Keefe's clothes. And I don't think they did that last time, where they had a shirt and sweatshirt underneath plexiglass. And so it was very effective for the jury. And I also want to point out, it's very solemn in the courtroom whenever the clothes of Officer John O'Keefe are presented. So what they presented this morning is, you have to understand, they found the straw of his drinking glass, they found pieces of the taillight, and the state trooper, Yuri Buchanan, who's presenting this right to the jury. I mean, the guy is former military, joined after 9/11. He's also a supervisor. He's Proctor's boss. But he also described what happened when they went to talk to Karen Reed that day after it happened. And I don't remember that this was highly publicized prior to this, where what they're saying is that she said that she thought John had hit his head 2 days prior to this. Now, based on the injuries he sustained, which was a fractured skull, it's kind of comical to think that that's what he sustained because he had bumped his head 2 days earlier. But let's just cut through. The Commonwealth, the state of Massachusetts, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, Again, we're talking about a broken taillight. We're talking about someone that is then found on the lawn. We have all of the voicemails, but the bottom line that it seems to come down to is the broken pieces of the taillight. And they're finding them right there in the snow, where they're also finding his sneaker, and they're also finding the straw from the drinking glass. Now, the straw was found in the street. So here's what you really have to step back. And I fully get that people like that who interrupted an FCC broadcast, which is against the law. It is against the law to do that. So, and we're going to follow up with that. But that person and others, I recognize there's still a big contingent of people out there that believe that there was this conspiracy, that they brought him in the house. But you have to be realistic and say, like, how could they have planted where his sweatshirt has grass stains on it? So how would it be that they threw him out into the snow, but he had grass stains on it? How could they plant pieces of the taillight under the snow in that way? Why would the straw from the drinking glass he was holding be found in the street? I want to be very clear. There's so many people out there. I was on Court TV last night with someone who is 100% into the conspiracy. I'm not trying to convince anyone like that. Those people they're following the tidbits going along to the conspiracy. They want to continue to just follow what they believe is evidence of a conspiracy. And the thing about that is when your logic and mind goes in that way, you stop blocking logic out because you're just chasing the conspiracy. And I recognize it's not easy when people fall into a conspiracy. It's not. And I want to tell you about that in a moment. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Call them today. Birthday party venue, before and after school care, preschool, and also Kids Club on the Pike, located right off of 295. They're on the Cranston-Johnson line. Kids Club on the Pike. They have summer camp. They have a great summer camp at Kids Club on the Pike. You can call them at 401-443-5336. Reserve a spot for your child or grandchild at Kids Club on the Pike this summer. Maybe they go for a week. Maybe they go for a month. Maybe they go for the entire summer. Kids Club on the Pike. Give them a call today, 401-443-5336. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. Now, I'm going to stay for the moment with the Karen retrial. Now, we are following up on, the naked fat test coach. I don't know what to make of that story. Tim White, I think Channel 12 has done some really good reporting on that inside the courtroom. I know Coach Thomas got on the stand. We'll talk about it tomorrow with our attorney, Stephanie Murphy. And again, folks, I want to apologize. We had a glitch, although maybe it's not a bad thing, that we didn't have Stephanie on, since I did have someone invade the broadcast. And when you are on the radio, which we are on the radio, AM 1380 and 99.9 FM, when you are broadcasting on the radio. But Stephanie Murphy, she's a great attorney. Marin, Barrett, and Murphy, 50 years combined Rhode Island criminal defense experience. Call them at 401-228-8271. 401-228-8271 from Marin, Barrett, and Murphy Law Firm. Well, folks, again, good afternoon right now at 1:26. And I want to just rehash a little bit and explain with the Karen retrial, because it is really remarkable with the case that they are putting on right now. And what I mean by that is it's hard not to compare the first trial, which was last spring, because the evidence this time around And there is somewhat new evidence, but the evidence this time around, when they're really streamlining it, I'm telling you right now, this is day 12. And just to step back for a moment, just the pacing of the trial. Now, in the morning, the jury is really fresh in the morning. The jury is fresh and the jury's alert. And like everything else, as the afternoon goes along, the jury starts to go into a zone. And so as a result of that, they're just not paying attention as much. Look at the pattern where Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, this morning, he had Trooper Yuri Buchanan. Now, the defense is going to get a chance to cross him, but it's going to be in the afternoon. And I'm telling you, I find that right around 3 o'clock, the jury, actually everyone in the courtroom, but the jury seems to hit the wall. And it's not exclusive to this case. When you're sitting in a courtroom all day, and it's very intense. And if you're on the jury, it's not relaxing. So when they're watching this, and by the way, I'll bet when I've interviewed people that have sat on juries, when they go home for the night, they tell me that they are absolutely exhausted because they're just mentally drained. You think back to maybe like when you were either high school or college, but when you had to take a big exam, it's very common that you get mentally drained. And that's what when I've interviewed different former jurors, people that sat on a jury, they'll say they would go home and their family couldn't understand it because the family would say, yeah, but you're sitting all day. And they'd say, I'm just totally exhausted. They're mentally drained. And I think that is something that they're probably experiencing. As a result of that, I think that that's also the reason why, and it's very effective, that Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, he's doing these things in the morning. He's showing the big evidence in the morning, and then just as the day is ending, he puts out a clip, and it's a Karen clip, and it's something like yesterday of her saying it's either me or Jen McCabe. So I can tell that the defense is definitely very frustrated. And I'll bet that the defense certainly wanted to see Trooper Michael Proctor. But when you're looking at, and I thought this was really effective, see that's part of the taillight they found. You see how sharp that is? So as everyone talks about the injuries on Officer John O'Keefe, you could see that how sharp that taillight is when it's smashed, and how that could cut his arm in that fashion. Now, here are the pants, the jeans they held up of Officer John O'Keefe. Look at those grass stains. Again, I mean, I could have been like that in the first trial. I just don't remember that as dramatic. And also, the hat they found, his hat was buried under a foot of snow. And the reason I say that is, I just think it starts to become more and more difficult to try to believe that how could someone have buried his hat under a foot of snow? This was also the shirt, and I thought this was really effective, that they had the shirt behind plexiglass. And the way it held it up, and so the jury could really look at it. And again, you see the stains. I want to be very clear. I think this is really effective in court. And when people see this, it becomes very solemn in the courtroom whenever they show some of the clothing that Officer John O'Keefe was wearing in the courtroom. It becomes very, very weird. How can I explain it? It just becomes very solemn, and everyone looks at Peg O'Keefe. This is the drinking straw that they found. And you know what's interesting about this is they found it in the street. So when he got out of the car with the drinking glass, how would the straw from the drinking glass end up in the street? I think that's powerful. And I know that some people are trying to poke holes in everything that they're putting forward, but I think they're rolling along. All right, 1:32 on this Thursday. Again, I apologize. We were supposed to have attorney Stephanie Murphy. We'll talk to her tomorrow. I'm not exactly what happened with that glitch. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Roofco, Rhode Island. Call them 401-868-7149. 401-868-7149. Roofco, Rhode Island. For wind damage, leaky roof, missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter, damaged chimney flashing. Roofco, Rhode Island. So maybe with all this rain, you've had a leaky roof. Maybe your roof has experienced some wind damage. Give them a call today, 401-868-7149. 401-868-7149. Free estimate. So it's very possible that you've had wind damage done to your home. It's Roofco, Rhode Island, 401-868-7149. All right, 1:33 on this Thursday. I also want to stay on schedule here, folks, and remind you about Watson Materials. Listen, the next few months, this is going to be when you spend a lot of time outside. Watson Materials, largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Call them 401-885-0600, 401-885-0600. Watson Materials for landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials. Give them a call today, 401-885-0600. Request a quote right on South County Trail. It's Watson Materials, 401-885-0600. Folks, 1:34. So we're going to be back in court this afternoon at 2 o'clock. And then after court, I will deal with the incident that happened just a little earlier. I know the law. You can't interrupt an FCC broadcast. It's against the law to interrupt an FCC broadcast. So we'll follow up on that a little bit later. This portion of the program, folks, brought to you by J. Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, 20 years experience, specializing in commercial paving, residential paving, seal coating. It's J. Perry Paving. Give them a call today at 401-732-1730. Now also, they are tremendous. No one is a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. Give them a call today, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730. Letter J, J. Perry Paving. And they'll give you a quote. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service. Letter J, J. Perry Paving. Now, I know there was an incident in Warwick just a short time ago, folks. 1:35 on this Thursday, May 8th. And I want to just check the latest. Let me just double check, because I know they had an incident and we were tracking it, and I don't see, police called for rescue. They definitely had, I don't see any other update, and I'll try to just double check on no immediate danger. Okay, well, there was a situation, and it was Washington and Fillmore and Warwick, which is right near Atlantic. It's down in, I believe that's considered the Norwood section. That's actually where Warrack is. So there was an incident, and I think initially the call came in as something going on in the vicinity of Warwick Avenue, Washington Street, Atlantic Avenue. Scene has ended. police heard what they thought were shots fired, but it sounds like that's past tense. It sounds like it's past tense. So whatever that was, we'll follow up with Warwick Police. So what else is new? Let me just check. We do have a new pope. I know that. The white smoke. There you go. Pope Leo the 14th. Okay, that's news. Lunch break until 2. Still on the stand on direct. See, I think that's smart to drag it out. And I have a feeling that Hank Brennan will obviously listen. The direct with the Karen Reed defense is going to be pretty intense. But at the same time, I'm going to go back to what I've noticed is you have to be pretty compelling in the afternoon. The jury starts to, hold on. We have information. David's doing a good job. Information on that Warwick situation. So I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but you said it's over. All right. Well, that's what initially happened. Okay. So it sounds like a mental health thing. Someone barricaded themselves into their home, folks. So again, I want to repeat right now at 1:38. We are live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. We're also live online at our website, depetro.com. But you can listen online, but you can listen right now. Hold on one moment. I apologize, folks. Okay. You can listen online at depetro.com, but we're also live right now on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Now, I was being asked earlier, why did I question Karen Reed about O.J. Simpson? Because Karen Reed was quoted in Vanity Fair saying, based on what she's been through, she'd be cheering for O.J. to, cheering that he got away with it. And, okay, she wants to think that, but, I mean, what I find moronic about that and disturbing is the fact that, is there any reasonable person that actually believes that O.J. Simpson is not guilty? O.J. Simpson, and again, these are the words of Karen Reed, and that is true, that outside the court, I said to her, was O.J. framed? If Karen Reed is saying she was rooting for O.J. to get away with it, so does that mean, I think a fair question is, does that mean that she thinks he was framed? Like, of all people, O.J. Simpson did videos, if I had done it. O.J. Simpson was looking to try to cash in afterwards when he was destitute and still owing all that money to the Browns and the Goldmans. And O.J. Simpson put out, disturbing videos. If I did it, and here's how it would have happened. O.J. Simpson, there were many things that happened with O.J. Simpson, but there was no police corruption with O.J. Simpson. Let's just be very clear about this, Karen Reed, or anyone that thinks that. There's no police corruption. The reason, there were several things that happened. They rushed the prosecution. They didn't need to rush. They should have just let him hang out there. Where was he going to go? He's O.J. Simpson. He wasn't going anywhere. There was no reason to move so quickly on him. But the trial got out of control. You had also had this feeling out in L.A. that the L.A. police were overly aggressive and really rough and had that reputation under Daryl Gates and the L.A. police, as highlighted in the film Straight Outta Compton. And most notably, when you had the police officers, L.A. police, who lived in Simi Valley, that they beat the rap on local charges of police brutality on Rodney King. So when you had individuals on the jury, and when you had, as Robert Shapiro from the OJ defense team said, Robert Shapiro was part of the defense team with Johnny Cochran and F. Lee Bailey. Robert Shapiro said They played the race card and they dealt it from the bottom of the deck. Shapiro said that about Johnny Cochran. And basically, jurors said that O.J. Simpson being free and acquitted was payback for Rodney King. I mean, that's what happened. And since Karen Reed and her little friend mentioned the Simpson case, I remember, I followed that very, very closely. And there was a story of a good friend of OJ, friends of OJ in the beginning. They were, they wanted to believe him, right? He was Mr. Hertz, football star, Buffalo Bills, USC. They wanted to believe that he was not involved in such a gruesome double stabbing homicide. And so, but what happened was they started to piece it together. And I remember an interview with a friend of OJ's that said, we started thinking if Mark Furman had actually planted the glove, if Mark Furman had planted the glove at Rockingham, right? There was the glove found at Bundy, and then there was the matching glove found at Rockingham. If Mark Furman had planted that, how did he not know? He would have had to do it in the early morning hours. He would have had to do it, right? They found the glove. They went over there. They started scouting around. They find the glove. But how would Mark Furman have known that OJ didn't have an airtight alibi? They didn't know where he was. How did they know? How would they have known? Let me rephrase it. They wouldn't have known if O.J. Simpson had an airtight alibi. And it could have just been with one woman, or it could have been with three people. They didn't know if O.J. could have produced three people that could have said, we were with him the entire time. So my point is, some of the people that initially wanted to believe O.J. Simpson thought, how would Furman plant the glove, not knowing if O.J. had an airtight alibi? Because the answer is he didn't plant the glove. Much like the argument of, well, there wasn't a lot of Ron Goldman's blood in the Bronco. Ron Goldman, who O.J. had never met in his life, Ron Goldman's blood was in that Bronco. The Simpson team was saying, well, there wasn't a lot of blood in the Bronco. Why was there any blood in the Bronco? How would Ron Goldman's blood get in the Bronco? What did the Simpson team say? The LA police planted it. Come on, the LA police didn't plant anything. So now, and the only reason I'm even mentioning that is because Karen Reed sent a little lackey over of, why were you asking Karen? Karen Reed did an interview with Vanity Fair. And Karen Reed, to my knowledge, she wasn't asked, what do you think of the Simpson case? I think she gave it up. Karen Reed said, with OJ, I'm cheering on that he got away with it, that he beat it. I don't understand that quote. I thought she's the one that said it. She's the one. She said it to a national publication. By the way, apparently I'm the only member of the media that has asked her about it. But to me, if someone were to say, I'm glad OJ got away with it, to me, a fair question is, so in other words, you think he was framed? O.J. Simpson was not framed, folks. All right, let me get back on track here. This portion of the program is brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Give them a call today. Ed and Roxanne, 401-207-4124. 401-207-4124. Arch Design Builders. Maybe you need a new kitchen. Maybe you need a new bathroom or basement or deck. Arch Design Builders. Listen, your space, you want to have a conversation? That's what we're talking about. Let's have a conversation. Show them the space that you're talking about, whether it's a new kitchen or a new bathroom or a basement or deck. Arch Design Builders. Give them a call today, 401-207-4124, 401-207-4124 for Arch Design Builders. Well, folks, 146. Now, I want to get back to, let's just stay on schedule. I want to get back to, obviously, what's the latest with the Karen Reed trial. And I want to preface this by saying, listen, no doubt about it, the defense is going to get their chance to get up there and present their defense. Absolutely. Anyone right now, this is day 12, anyone right now that is trying to say there's reasonable doubt, or anyone, by the way, saying she's guilty, I just, you have to wait until this plays out. You have to wait until everything has played out. I don't understand people that in the third inning of a game, well, we're getting closer to the fourth inning, but want to just say that, well, this game is over. So the defense will get a chance to make their case. And when it comes to the jury, all you need is one juror that says, for whatever reason, I just don't follow it. And it could be a variety of different reasons. It could be they weren't paying attention. It could be they like the defendant. It could be that they like Alan J. It could be a number of different things. Or maybe they don't like the prosecutor. But I was talking to an attorney yesterday and said many times, you lose, a criminal defense attorney told me, you lose the case that you think that you're going to win. And sometimes you win cases that you don't think you're going to win. But I believe it is hard to argue that they are not putting on an easy, compelling case right now. I believe they are putting on an easy, compelling case. And what I mean by that, and again, the defense will get their chance, but right now, you're not hearing anything about, you're not even hearing a lot about the waterfall. You're not hearing anything about all these different people in the house. Last spring, totally different story. All the witnesses going up, all the witnesses testifying, totally different scenario. You don't have that this time. So this time, I'm telling you, it's all outside. It's all outside. It's by the flagpole. As Karen Reed said, John was found in the basic area where I dropped him off. Those were her words. Karen said, well, I did say I hit him. I just didn't say it as many times as they're claiming that I said it. So she said that. I also want to echo these Karen clips that they're playing. Folks, they're very, very powerful in the courtroom. It's loud. It's a small courtroom. And it's loud, and it's not tough to understand her. It's not like something filmed on a phone, right? It's not like at a backyard cookout. It's not from 10 years ago. The clips they're showing, they're all basically within a year that this is happening. So in Karen Reed, there's perfect lighting. It's perfect sound. I mean, she was being interviewed for a docuseries that I watched on HBO Max. So my point is, it's the quality. It's motion picture quality. It's not like the Zabruta film. It's not. Sometimes you see video and you can't tell exactly what's happening, but this is even pleasant to look at. She's talking very calmly. She's talking clearly. She seems she's being honest with the person that's interviewing her. I believe that these clips, I believe these clips are really damaging. And what's got to be frustrating for the Karen Reed defense is you can't cross-examine the Karen clips. They didn't have them in the last trial. They didn't have them. They didn't play a lot of that. I think she said yesterday to Matt Johnson of Court TV that they plan to play them, and they're going to play them in their full context. I'd be anxious to see that. I don't know why you'd want to play more clips that I don't think are helpful to the jury, but maybe they know what they're doing. Folks, this portion of the program brought to you by Serve Pro of Providence. Give them a call today, 401-941-5500. Now remember, when disaster strikes, whether it's fire or flood or mold damage, Serve Pro of Providence. Fast, thorough, professional. Call them 401-941-5500. And they're available 24/7. So let's just say you have a commercial building and you have a fire, and it can happen. And then suddenly, if you have a fire, then you have water damage because they have to put out the fire. Water damage, fire, mold, storm recovery. Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941-5500. 401-941-5500. Now, you can also find them online, serveproprovidence.com. And again, you can also look for them. They have very good social media, Serve Pro of Providence. Well, folks, good afternoon at 1:52. And let's see what happens with Defense Cross, with this trooper, Yuri Buchanan. I believe this is Thursday. I think it has been another good day for the Commonwealth, for Hank Brennan and the prosecution in presenting evidence against Karen Reed. Now, I'll admit, I thought yesterday, as much as that Jessica Hyde, as much as she's, considered an expert, and the whole thing of the how long to die, 227, I could see where someone potentially was confused by that. But there are some jurors that, to me, my impression, they seem tech savvy. Not all, some of the jurors, to me, I would regard as somewhat tech savvy. I think that could be a little bit confusing, and especially as then it dragged on. But today, when you're talking about the defendant is saying, I hit him, and then she said he was found in the general area where I dropped him off. Karen Reed also, in one of those Karen clips, Karen Reed also says, did I clip him? Did I hit him in the knee? Did I hit him? I also, folks, there's Ted Daniel of Boston 25. He has the interview with Karen Reed's father. Now, I saw somewhere someone was discussing, is Karen Reed's father going to take the stand? I think Karen Reed was talking to Matt Johnson of Court TV, and Karen Reed's dad was saying, I'll get up, or something like to the akin to, or he was saying, I saw her tail light, and blah, blah, blah. But Ted Daniel of Boston 25, he has the interview where Bill Reed, Mr. Reed, Karen Reed's father said, at the hospital, Karen said, Dad, I hit something. It's on tape. You don't have to believe me. He said it. Now, I don't know if she backed up and hit the fire hydrant. I don't know what that means. But I come back to how complicated really is the case. You have the video of the father saying at the hospital, she said, Dad, I hit something. Now, maybe, perhaps, they could spin it to say she meant when she was backing up that morning and she seemingly tapped his car, that's what she meant. It's possible. But if you just step back from this, you have heavy drinking. They're by the flagpole. She's got a broken taillight. There's pieces of it found there. Listen, there's no such thing as a perfect case, and all witnesses make mistakes. But by and large, it's not like one person. It's not one individual. At the Aaron Hernandez trial, someone, and I talked with one of the jurors after that, someone that the jury believed was his friend that got up on the stand. The guy had one eye left because Aaron Hernandez had shot him in the eye when they were down in Miami leaving a strip club. And as much as he had been in jail and, kind of a lifelong criminal, but in that moment, there were things he told that had credibility, specifically that he was friendly with Aaron Hernandez. He wasn't making that up. So my point is, I think some people totally dismiss things. But if you just step back, now, the defense I want to remind people, they will have a chance to put on their case. And I'm anxious to see how they're going to counter this. Like, for instance, do they actually have a case, or are they just going to try to attack the prosecution? prosecution's case? I don't know. I'm not saying it's the easiest case, by the way. I'm not saying that, but it's a much different case than last spring. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Give them a call today, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815 for Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Now, they could resurface a tennis court, they could resurface a basketball court, they could resurface a pickleball court, they epoxy garages, patios, decorative concrete flooring. They can make your pavement look like new. Call Corey at Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401-283-9815, 401-283-9815 for Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Well, folks, good afternoon again on this Thursday. Now, don't forget, Sunday coming up. Sunday is, in fact, Mother's Day. Why not pop in? It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. You could get Mom some nice gift items there. Maria's fantastic, right across from Davenport Restaurant in that historic white church. It's My Health, and we talk every Friday, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. All right, 1:58. So I will be going back into court at 2 o'clock for the Karen Reed trial. We will be out tonight. With Road Patrol Live. By the way, tomorrow, 3 to 5, I'll be live on Fox Nation for the streaming with the great Paul Morrow regarding the Karen Reed trial. So this afternoon, I'm as curious as anyone to see exactly what's going to happen with the defense cross. Now, to me, maybe they're going to drill down on the Proctor stuff. Maybe they're going to drill down. This guy got docked 5 vacation days. He was on a text chain with Proctor. Maybe they're going to go after him. It could be fireworks. I would love it. Anything that could keep us entertained in the afternoon session, it can start to drag on a little bit. So I'm very anxious to find out what happens. But I will say, this was a good morning for the prosecution. Showing these taillight pieces, showing them buried under the snow. Maybe they're going to make the argument that they were playing, as Karen Reed would say, come at me. Well, not come at me, but bring it on. I want to see it. Maybe they're going to make this very compelling argument that it was all planted there. It's totally possible. All right. If you're watching Facebook, we'll be back later on for Road Patrol Live. If you're listening to the radio, stand by for the 2 o'clock news. I am headed back into court on this Thursday. Thank you, everybody, tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow live at 1.